Hello and welcome back to another episode of a weekly Waypoint. Can you believe I'm still doing these? I can. I can believe it. Why can you not believe it? Believe it. Databoy. Today we're playing Halo Reach because I booted up Halo MCC and those are the matches I got. I'm not very good at Reach. This match was alright, but the second one was a bit shit. Spoiler alert. I mean, it has its moments, otherwise I would have completely re-recorded it. But yeah, I figured this series used to be called the Weekly Deathmatch, and we haven't done anything remotely deathmatchy in quite some time. We've been doing lots of racing fast cars, and you know, maybe it's time to go back to our roots a little bit, but I'm not really playing anything particularly first-person shootery or competitive, so A, that's why it's Halo MCC, and B, that's why, I mean, I did just get a no-scope, but that's why my gameplay is a little bit trash, okay? Don't at me. Did I have fun playing these two matches? Yes, I did. Do I think this is going to lead into me playing more Halo? No, I don't think I am. What have I been up to this week? Well, last week I promised that I would play some Yakuza Like a Dragon and report back to you, so I have done exactly that. I think I'm in the middle of chapter 3, and I want to give any story beats away, so we'll just leave it at that. But I'm delighted by Yakuza Like a Dragon. From the outside, it always seemed like the kind of like comedic game to Yakuza's more serious tone, even though Yakuza also has some very comedic elements to it. But it turns out it's just like Yakuza with a mix of both, really. And it's bloody brilliant. Like, the story it's been telling so far has been great. The kind of nuances of like the things that it's telling. I mean, it's a minor spoiler, okay, but homelessness is a theme that's explored in this. And for a second, the way the main character was talking, I thought, oh, then they're kind of just they're telling homeless people that they just need to believe in themselves and they can go and get jobs, and that's kind of fucked up. But actually, no, they then turn around and say, hey, that's kind of fucked up. And I was like, oh, thank God they're doing it correctly. So it's, you know, I mean, I've never been homeless, so I can't really speak to that truth, but it feels like it does that part very well. And just in general, the story does get really heavy at points, which is exactly what I wanted. And I'm not going to commit to sitting down and finishing the entire game, because I'm not a lunatic who's going to ignore the last several years of my video game experience, but I will say that I'm going to play some more of it, and that I am excited to play some more of it. And the thing that I'm really taking away from it is that it is kind of like a parody of RPGs, and in that sense I thought it might be a little bit lacking in substance, because it's set in a modern day, and therefore like your equipment is all to do with like modern day items, and your jobs are all to do with modern day jobs, and I thought it would be lacking in substance in that way, but actually that is not the case. Speaking strictly in terms of narrative, that is, it does manage to both be a parody of a turn-based style of game within a modern world, whilst also not being too in your face about it. Like, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely in your face about it. The name Dragon Quest is dropped several times, and like they do keep, you know, nudging you with their elbow and going about certain like RPG tropes and stuff, but at the same time it doesn't get in the way of the tone of the seriousness of the story, when the story is being serious, and that's something I greatly appreciate. And also in terms of gameplay, you know, it's what I'm trying to say is it achieves the perfect balance of like not overdoing it and ruining the tone of the entire game, but also being like really quirky and fun, and like having moments where you're like, oh right, this is the fireball in this world, is it? Okay. And oh, so this is your like typical like medicinal herb in this world, and it makes sense, but it's funny that it makes sense in that particular way. And I recommend it to anyone who likes turn-based RPGs and has Game Pass. You don't have to have any prior experience in the Yakuza franchise. It's a self-contained story, and it's really fun. So there you go. How's that for a little mini game review in the middle of a weekly Waypoint for you? You know what else I've been doing this week? You don't, because I'm about to tell you. In fact, if you do, I'm slightly creeped out. Also, way to fucking go me. Pro Halo player over here. I've been discovering more old school RuneScape videos because the YouTube algorithm knows how to how to feed the masses. It knows how to be like, hey, you liked that? Huh? You like that? You want more of that? Opens trench coat. Where am I going with this? Christian, you have to rate it in, buddy. People watch these videos now. You have to make some sort of sense. Anyway, I discovered, so I've already talked about discovering Hanani's, or Hanani's, I pronounced that the same way twice, discovering her old school RuneScape YouTube videos, and this week I discovered Jimmy's old school RuneScape videos, J1MMY, and he kind of, he's got a couple of series which are really freaking fun, and yes, I'm literally just talking about YouTube videos I watch now, deal with it. He has a series where he goes into free-to-play worlds and hangs out with the free-to-play crowd and pretends to be a noob. Think modern day to noob show, but instead of that 2007 horror, it's more of a modern day like text to speech over NPC, or not NPCs, but player character heads and like reaction. You know, it's good. Go give it a watch. And then the other series he does is by release, which is him playing through the old school RuneScape game, doing every quest in the order with which they were released, which is something I was kind of doing in RuneScape 3, except it was by order of timeline, which is a more arbitrary thing that Jagex put together. But I gave up on that, and this guy did not, and it's a very fun series to watch. So if you like RuneScape, there you go. I'm literally telling you to go and watch someone else's videos. I'm not very good at this. But, I mean, I use this series to talk about things that I'm currently hyperfixated on, and old school RuneScape modern YouTube videos are a hyperfixation of mine, apparently, right now. I spent hours yesterday watching them, all while continuing to do various skilling in RuneScape 3, because I like to play the easy game and watch the hard game. That's how we do it over here. Oh yeah. Hey, do you know what other creative project I have here on YouTube? No, not that one, the other one. No, not that one, the other one. Dimensionjam, that's right. This week, we published a video in World of Warcraft Classic, and it did pretty dang well, and I'm really pleased with it, and re-edited it, and it's freaking fantastic. So if you fancy some more content that's a little bit like this one, but features a little bit more Reese, which is only a plus, then you might as well head on over to youtube.com/dimensionjam. That's right, this is an advertisement. Get wrecked, lol. Don't get wrecked, I'm sorry. I'll be honest, I'm scrolling through my Twitter profile feed to refresh my memory on what I did this week, because it can't be yet another week of just RuneScape. And I guess I did do Yakuza at the start of this, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, there was a Doctor Who Presents. There was not a Doctor Who Presents. There was a Pokemon Presents, and I didn't even bother to watch it because I was at work, and I was like, oh, I'll watch that when I get home. And then I thought about other Pokemon Presents, and I went, I'm gonna check the timeline, and it was full of some very disgruntled people who were not pleased with the Pokemon Presents, and I don't blame them, because it looked like a fucking shambles, and I'm just left to wonder, am I even a Pokemon fan anymore? Like, I refuse to return to Pokemon Violet until they fix the performance issues, and it's starting to look like they're just straight up not gonna fix the fucking performance issues, because that game already sold lots. Why would we bother trying to make it better when we've got the money from it? Let's just pump some DLC into that fucker and move on to the next one. I always take, like, fixation breaks from some of my favourite franchises, but it's very rare that a franchise legitimately loses me by being shit. The only other one I can think of is Destiny. I'm starting to feel about Pokemon the way I feel about Destiny, and that's not a good thing. And you know, I know Pokemon is a massive brand, and games are worked on probably by different teams within Game Freak. I don't know how that company is structured, but let's just say that. So maybe Pokemon Arceus will be announced, Pokemon Legends Mewtwo or something will be announced, and that'll be great. But let's be honest, Legends Arceus didn't exactly run very well either, but I gave that one a pass because it was, I don't know, I gave it a pass. But Violet's even worse, and is not getting fixed, and I'm just looking at the Pokemon company, I'm just like, you know, there's so many other games I could be playing. Like, you might be the most popular brand in the world, but you do still have to try, I'm afraid. Like, your numbers might be really good, but it's also, on a personal level, kind of embarrassing, like me dying in that way just then, that you're that you're treating your own brand this way, and that you don't care about the actual experience that your players have. If I was putting out sorry, this is turning into a bit of a rant, isn't it? If I was putting out something that was literally being played by millions of people, I would be very self-conscious about the quality of said product, even if it was mostly children playing that product, you know? Like, oh man, fucking Pokemon, man. Yeah, I'm not sure I can call myself a fan of Pokemon right now. I don't, like, there are brands, oh god, it's still going, there are brands, there are franchises that I will stick with through thick and thin, like Doctor Who. Doctor Who has not been objectively good for a little while. I am of the belief that it is very likely about to be again, but I do not think that the Jodie Whittaker era was a very good era. I do not think that the Peter Capaldi era was all that good either, although it definitely had its moments. But I still consider myself a Doctor Who fan throughout all of that, because they were trying. And the thing that's really turning me off with Pokemon right now is that it doesn't feel like they're trying. Yeah, it's more multifaceted than that. There are definitely developers who feel very, you know, they're very passionate about their work, and they would love for it to be running at a better frame rate, and to be produced in a better manner, but the executives clearly don't care about it and just want to rush out a game every year, and yeah, I can't do it anymore. So there, hear me, Game Freak? I abandoned Destiny 2, and I'll fucking abandon Pokemon as well if you don't pull your finger out. They don't give a shit. I'm one person in a sea of millions. It reminds me a little bit about the discourse around Baldur's Gate 3, and ooh, there are some developers and publishers out there who are saying, don't expect every game to meet this game's standards, and then there's people being like, well, why the hell not? And I don't really want to fall on the side of demanding more from other developers because of entitlement, but I do want to fall on the side of there's definitely an air of publishers not giving devs enough time to make the game what it should be, because there's a threshold that most people seem to just be okay with, and they are testing that threshold with every release in terms of quality. And it's not like the specific developer's fault most of the time. A lot of the time it is the publishers being like, hey, we want a new one every year, fuck you. But it is frustrating, and you know, this industry has a lot of issues, and I'm old enough to remember when games were made and just put out, and they were video games, and they were made to the fullest, and they weren't milked for microtransactions and stuff, but those days are over now. But it seems like every passing year there's some new level of, I don't want to say depravity, it's not that serious, fam, but some new level of selfishness and money grabbing that publishers try to achieve, and Baldur's Gate 3 definitely seems to break that norm, and it definitely seems to have some people riled up. But I did see a take this morning about from some indie devs who were kind of laughing at that, like, oh no, we're gonna have to stop making 2D games, and that's not what I think this is about. But if it sounds like I'm re-recording this segment of a weekly Waypoint, it's because I saw that and went, oh hang on, maybe I should reconsider the context with which I'm talking about this particular situation. I don't think every developer is quaking in their boots because Larian made such an amazing video game. I think publishers are like trying to set expectations, because when they set expectations they can sell an easier product to make. And again, I really don't want to fall on the side of demanding the absolute best from people who don't have the resources to give it, but it is frustrating. But also, I'm a lot easier to please than some people, it turns out. So I think that's the reason I want to talk about this. I feel like I might be part of a problem, because I'm going, well, you know, I liked Halo Infinite on launch, it was fine. And clearly, according to most people, it was not. Sometimes I wonder if I have outdated standards, like back when I cared about Overwatch, people were complaining about the amount of time it took to release a new map or a new hero, and meanwhile I was just out here going, they're making new content for free at a decent pace. This is great. What are you people complaining about? Games just used to be put out and then done, or they sold map packs. But I guess the threshold changes. And by the way, I'm talking about Overwatch 1, not Overwatch 2. It's not quite as free as it used to be. And even then, of course, that shit was funded by loot boxes. So, you know, maybe it's not all sunshine and roses like I'm making it out to be. By the way, you know how I said I'm re-recording this section of a weekly Waypoint? So obviously a day has passed over the course of his commentary, and I talked about how, I think I talked about earlier, how we were about to hit 250 subscribers. We're now at 266, so thank you for that. This channel is growing at a rate which will not be alarming to anyone who watches YouTubers like Markiplier, who has millions, but to me, gaining like 15 subscribers overnight is something I'm not used to, so hello, welcome aboard. Blimey. It did go up to 269, but 3 people disappeared, so I don't know if some of them were bots, or if they just went, haha, funny Minecraft short, and subscribed and went, wait, what's all this? I don't want all this, which is something I do worry about, but I'm thinking about putting out some kind of vlog video, where I kind of like do 5 facts about me that aren't related to video games or nerdy stuff like what this channel usually covers, because I'm a little concerned that, you know, I want this, if I'm talking about myself as a brand, which feels weird, I want it to be genuine and wholesome and stuff, and not just, haha, look, I died in a video game, how funny is that? But I mean, if that's what people like, then it's not a problem. But, you know, I'd like to try and be a little bit more than that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully, I will see you next week. Oh, I got the winning kill! Okay, that was my fucking redemption arc.